Now, here we go. Start that. Here we go. Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer and Bob Price. Now, this show airs nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imagination. Through radio excellence, they create a community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being.
I'll give you
Gael and Bob
I'll give you
maintain
a
a
cue.
focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, and solutions. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energy, and they help them flourish in the competitive market. The weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tips, and much more. Okay, audience, here's Gael.
All right. Hey, welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Gael Freer and Bob Price. Their show airs on KXOK, what you're listening to right now, 102.9 FM, and KWRH, 92.9 FM on Mondays at 3 p.m. And you can hear them also nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. each week. On their show, they help authors create books that transform their lives and imaginations. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes connections and fosters creativity and imagination. They maintain a focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, and writing solutions. They will serve their listening public by providing outlets for your creative skills and energies and helping you flourish in a competitive marketplace. The weekly show provides intros, conversations with authors, writer's voice, writing and publications, marketing tidbits, all the things you ever wanted to know to get you going. And if you're interested in getting more detail, go to authors-edge.com. Let me say that again. Authors, A-U-T-H-O-R-S, hyphen edge, E-D-G-E.com. Guess what? The inaugural show is up and running and ready to launch, and here is Gael and Bob.
Oh, thanks, Stan. Hi, Bob. How are you today? Are you rocking and rolling?
Rocking and a rolling.
All right. Today we are going to talk to Ralph Wayne Freer. Yes, and his last name is the same as mine. Missouri artist and author Ralph Wayne Freer creates his captivating works of art in a century-old country farmhouse, which he has converted into a studio. The Flying F Gallery and studio are located at 8740 Highway W, Poplar Bluff, Missouri. One of his more recent sculptures, Bobby Soxer, is on permanent display in the sculpture garden of the Margaret Harwell Art Museum located in Poplar Bluff. Although Ralph's Ozark roots include being born in a Civil War era log house, he has had the good fortune to travel and live in Europe, Central America, and throughout the United States. He believes these experiences have shaped and influenced his approach to art and life. Ralph is primarily a sculptor working in wood. His eclectic artistic style is constantly evolving. He focuses on the exploration of shapes, forms, and color. As with most artists, Ralph is intense about his art. His formal art training includes life drawings with Malcolm Ross and portrait sculpture with Jane Doxey, both in Key West, Florida. However, as all artists, he is constantly exploring creative challenges. Most recently, the writing and publishing of 4 children's books: Piper Posse, which can be found on Amazon; The Abbreviated Life and Times of Iggy Skunk; Cosmo, the Teeny Tiny Planet; and Sawhead Adventures featuring Little Ralphie. Ralph's website is www.flyingfgallery.com. Contains many images of his sculpture and information concerning his books. And Ralph, I see you brought a little buddy with you today. You want to tell us all about him?
Are we talking about Bob or Bonk?
Bonk. Tell us about Bonk. Bob, you already know.
Yes. Well, good morning, Gael and Bob, and thank you for inviting me on your inaugural show. I hope this isn't
Like you had a choice?
like, yeah, maybe you had a choice. Anyhow, I'm happy to be here. You want to know a little bit about me?
Sure do. How'd you get started?
Okay. Well, art-wise, I started by buying some carving tools back in 1972 when I was going to school over in Springfield at Missouri State, and I started carving wooden figures. And then from there, I moved to Florida, where I kind of expanded. Stayed with wood because wood is very available.
I
And
heard your first sculpture was out of soap.
oh, well, that's true. That's true. That's true. I
What brand?
it was a bar of ivory soap to be to be exact. And
Was it a big bar of ivory soap?
well, as large as it was the largest I guess they had, just to see if I could do it. And actually, I still have that. Well, my sister
Oh, wow.
has it.
You didn't take a shower, you just have it now?
No, they still have it.
That's terrible.
anyhow,
I lost my inventory.
I found that I could sculpt, and so that's what prompted me to buy some wooden sculpting tools. You know, because Springfield is near Branson, and Branson is home of a lot of wood carvers and so forth. And so I was kind of motivated. And my first attempts at sculpting were these small country or hillbilly characters, you know. So that's where I started.
So it's kind of evolved that way, or how did your work evolve?
Well, it did. It did. I'm accused because I'm a Gemini. I'm accused of not staying focused on any one thing for any length of time. So, yeah, as time went on, I started to carve larger. I don't know if there's a difference between sculpting and carving, other than I think sculpting is usually on a larger scale, and carving is usually I associate with doing smaller stuff. But I also work in clay, and I have done some work in metal. But when I relocated to Florida, where I spent 27 years of my 29 years of public education, it was a wonderful place to be an artist because it's a large art community, and it kind of evolved from there.
So your inspirations? Who inspires you? Or actually, there was a question asked, who surprised you in your inspirations? In other words, somebody you did not think would inspire you,
Oh,
you know, and that they would, you just say, oh yeah, well, I've seen that, but I don't know if it would really be inspiring to me. Somebody like that, somebody that you didn't think would be inspiring.
well, I can't think of anyone right offhand on that, but I think of something that has changed my more recent work in the last, let's say, decade. And that would be the introduction of LED lights into some of my sculptures. The way you light sculptures can make a vast difference with the shadows and the edges and things like that. So discovering the LED tapes and other LED lights and incorporating those into some of my sculptures, that was kind of something that was unexpected.
What is your process? How do you start a piece?
Well, in so many ways. Sometimes I start with, I see something that I find interesting, a shape that I find interesting, whether it's a piece of wood that's lying on the floor or just something I see, I don't know, that I find interesting. Sometimes I start with a sketch and then I move it into a three-dimensional form, and other times I just go right into the carving itself.
Where do you get your wood?
Well, wood is plentiful. It's everywhere. When I lived in the Keys, Key West, mahogany was very plentiful there. And as I discovered, there was a gazillion types of mahogany, just like there's many types of oak trees. But it was readily available, and it carves beautifully, and it finishes beautifully. So when I lived in Florida, I used a lot of mahogany. Here in Missouri, since we moved back to Missouri in 2001 when I retired, I use walnut. I've done some pieces in wild cherry. I've even tackled some oak pieces. So when I do carvings, I just kind of will try any type of wood that's available.
Are you primarily in wood, or do you?
Primarily, I not only do I carve, but sometimes more recently I've been doing constructions where I take wooden panels or just pieces of wood like 2x4s and 2x6s and other sizes, and I cut them and I build out, as opposed to when you carve or sculpt, you're usually the process means you're taking away wood and moving into what you want to, what you desire to make. But on the other hand, you can build out, and that's when I do my constructions, and you can see those on my website. The Diva series, those are the wall hangings that have LED lights to backlight them. So those are all constructions. So I use kind of two different approaches anymore. My original one was carving those small figures into large figures.
He's quite a diverse gentleman.
That's me.
I guess the question that begs is, have you been an artist your whole life? I'm confused. So are you a sculptor or are you an artist? Are you a sculptor artist? I mean, are you like both pieces of the puzzle? I mean, how do people, when people want to know about you, how do they find you? Under what category?
Well, my website would be, my sculpture, an artist website under Flying F Gallery. But yeah, I am who I am. Stan, it's sort of like,
Just getting to know you. That's all.
yeah, getting to know all about you.
Well, I got a question. If somebody wants to buy something from you, did you got that? You got that in your question? Somebody wants to buy something from them?
Yeah, they want to buy, they can go to his website, which is www.flyingfgallery.com. And in the contact page is all the information, his phone number, his address,
Mhm.
whatever on the website, explain more about your website.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, in case you might as well get it out up front. You know?
Yeah.
Right. Well, the website will show you of course, my pieces of sculpture. There's probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 dozen images on there of different sculptures, and they range from small sculptures the size of maybe less than a foot tall to maybe 8 foot tall sculptures. All the information is on there, how to contact me and how to purchase my pieces. But I also participate in art shows. I've been in different galleries in Poplar Bluff and Cape Girardeau, and participated in art shows in Piedmont and Van Buren. These are towns near Poplar Bluff. Since I've moved back, since I've relocated back to my home state of Missouri.
now you had also said that you were raised, you did a lot of traveling and whatnot, in Europe and
Yeah.
whatnot. So tell me, how does that influence your art?
Well, I think travel, expands your horizons for sure.
You
Uh,
lived in, where did you used to live when you were a teenager?
Well, I was raised, and myself and my brother and my sister, we were raised as army brats. My dad was a career soldier, so we lived in about 5 different states and also a tour in Germany. So I really do think that, I know it's a cliche, travel expands your horizons, but that's true. It allows you to see other images that you normally wouldn't see if you just stayed locally. And it also, just exposes you to lots of different wonderful things.
Now, you also spent how many years as a public educator?
29 years.
29 years. And how did that influence your art?
Well, in public education, I was a school counselor and an American history teacher. But at the time, when I went to Key West in 1973, it was the community there was very inspirational, in as much as the colors were beautiful because you're in the tropics, and there was a large art colony in Key West. So I kind of my dabbling in art kind of grew to be more of a passion that I did when I wasn't working with young people during the daytime.
Well, you also gave me a little blurb about your growing up years, and I got a little thing here that I think is really cute. He starts out with septuagenarian artist. His country roots are deep. He was born at home in a log cabin, similar to Abe Lincoln. Oh my goodness! All right, onward. 40-acre farm in Indian Creek. Let's see. After World War II, what happened?
Well, my father got out of the military after World War II. Of course, I was born during the war in '43, so I'm a similar age to two other people that are sitting around this table here.
Yeah, but not this one.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Yeah. Well, anyhow,
what do you say?
She's saying we're old, is what I'm saying.
well, getting back to the septuagenarian, I'm only a septuagenarian for another 6 months, and after that, I'll join the octogenarian.
I'm right behind you.
Oh, you're right behind me.
Yeah, I'm in July.
Oh my, y'all are getting old there.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you're listening to The Author's Edge with Guy L. Freer and Bob Price, coming to you weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. on KWRH 92.9 FM and KXOK 102.9 FM AM, and Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network.
And I wanted to add something too. If you'll be hearing the show on the national network next week. If you want an easy way, because people can't remember all these website links, just go to usradionetwork.com. US, not USA, usradionetwork.com. And all you gotta do is look for KXOK, there'll be little pictures, KWRH, and My Genre. And that will, whether you're in a car or wherever you're at, that will give you the station instantly. So make it real easy to hear about, Ralph, all these different things he does.
Well, what kind of connection is between your art and your books?
Okay, that's a good question. I've been doing art just about, well, I say all my life, but actually I started in the '70s, so I was in my 30s at that time. I started sculpting. I published my first book in 2017, so you can see that's fairly recent. How that evolved, and when I think about it, is that I had gotten to where my pieces, when I would exhibit them in different galleries, instead of just naming the piece, sometimes I would put a little biography with it, a little bio clip with it. Something I thought was humorous but related to the piece. And I thought that the viewers of my art would sometimes look at my art, read the little clip that I had there, a little maybe 2 or 3 sentences, and then come back and examine it again. So I started relating like little stories with the pieces. So in 2017, I was doing some whimsical pieces that kind of were cartoonish looking. And I kind of said, well, could be a story here. One of the pieces I was working on was Billy Bob Bird, which is a giant rooster, stands about 3.5 feet tall. And I was also doing a little piece with a cute face I called a pixie, kind of was a female looking little cartoon figure. And then I said, well, what could be the interaction here between these two? And then the other piece I started to develop was I thought looked like a pollywog, kind of like a young frog. And I said, okay, well, the 3 of these pieces, and the story just kind of evolved. I said, okay, so they're young kids, they're going to school, a pollywog, a rooster, and a pixie, and they don't get along because they're so different. And the teacher is challenged with what can she do to get them to know each other better and become friends. So that was the whole motivation and the premise of the book.
I like it.
And it can be found on Amazon, so that look under Piper's Posse, Ralph Wayne Freer, and you can find that book there. He will be having other books also put on Amazon. He has 3 other books, and then he's also in the process of 1 other book.
Mhm.
What's the last book you worked on?
Well, the one that I've written right now, and that I have instead of on the other 4 books, I have illustrated them by using pictures of the pieces that motivated or that inspired the story. On this one, I've found a wonderful illustrator that's going to do the illustrations for my book. So the new book is about Sprout, and Sprout is the little misshapen Scotch pine tree, not quite a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, but anyhow, he's smaller than the rest of the trees in the Christmas grove. and he's worried about not being picked as a Christmas tree. You know, when they're harvested and sent off to places like Walmart and Kroger's and other places like that. So anyhow, the story has to do with Sprout uh, um, uh, not being picked. You know,
Right.
he's worried, like he's not going to be picked.
You mean like the runt of the litter?
He's the
Yes.
runt of the litter.
He's the
Yeah,
runt
sort
the
of like
litter.
the puppy that no one really picks first, that kind of left over. And so that's so my and it's written. The story has been written, and I'm working with an illustrator, and I hope to have it all put together in a package sometime this summer, so it's available for Christmas.
Okay, so what started the inspiration for this particular story?
Well, it came about last Christmas when somebody bought a Christmas tree that the last minute, and all was left was the leftover trees, and it was kind of a scraggly little tree. And I watched someone start to decorate it, and I said, "Well, there could be a story here." See, so my inspiration comes from different places. So as I watched this person over decorate this small, scrawny tree, I said, there could be a story about that little tree and how he thought he wasn't going to be picked and didn't find a home for Christmas. So that was the inspiration.
I got something that's in my head. I guess I gotta get it out.
Sure.
This show, Author's Edge, is about authors and books and the things that we do. The question in my mind is, if somebody's listening today and they go, I'm inspired by what Ralph said, and I'd like to, it's a multifold question, I want to do a book. What does that mean? What gets you, first of all, to realize you want to do a book? Because it doesn't magically, oh, I'm going to do a book today. Then I'm going to run a lap, and then I'm going to go eat lunch. No, I mean, there's got to be something that drove you to the desire. And once you have the desire, what did it take to get you up and running? So what got the desire, number one?
Okay.
And what got you running to do it, number two?
Yeah. Good question. I think it started with a new challenge because I like challenges. Uh, 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 and I'm an artist, and as much as I sculpt, and I do some painting, but mostly sculpture. It just seemed like another fun challenge to get involved in. And my wife's an avid reader, and so there were always books around. And I as an educator, you know, I like to have books around me too. So became a challenge, and how I went about writing the story. At first, I wrote it on a yellow memo pad. I wrote out a story. Then I put it on the laptop, and I kind of evolved it there. And then the next step would be, of course, making all those decisions around publishing your book. How are you going to go about it? Are you going to submit it to traditional publishers to get it published that way? Or are you going to go about it exploring doing a self-publishing, or as I like to refer to it, as an author's publishing? Or luckily now, if 5 years ago, if this had existed, the Blue Rooster Publishing Company, I would have probably started with them to start with. But anyhow, how I went about it was I wrote my story, then I had assistance on having to format the story, and how do you want to illustrate it? And I chose to make photos of the pieces that inspired me. And then the next step would be to find, where are you going to have your book printed at? You find a company that does printing or publish your book for you. And so within that, there's all sorts of things that you come across, like ISBN numbers and getting your covers, what kind of cover you're going to do it, how you're going to market your book. All those dynamics come in.
Why children's books?
I don't know. My grandfather was a storyteller, and he told little stories. Not so much that they were children's stories, but they were little stories. And so I kind of like to tell little stories. And I don't know, I think perhaps maybe being an educator and working, you know, with children, although most of my career was with secondary students, high school level. I don't know, it just seemed like these little stories, well, especially the initial one, because the pieces looked kind of childlike. They were kind of cartoonish. So I thought perhaps that, and I don't know, it seems to be a genre that I feel comfortable in.
So no science fiction?
Well, there's a lot of fiction in these little novels. One of the novels is called Cosmo, the Teeny Tiny Planet,
There you go.
and that's about a small planet that drifts into our solar system and wants to meet the Earthlings. The Earthlings don't know he's hanging around, and how he goes about meeting the Earthlings is kind of sci-fi stuff.
Impressive.
Yeah, he has a wide range of books. He does. He does a wide variety of uh, content. One of the other things that I had taken a look at Piper's Posse is that your books also seem to have a message of a character message of some sort. You know, do you want to teach anybody anything from your books?
I didn't realize that at the beginning, but I think there's some truth in that. The first book, I see it as about developing friends and the value of friendship, making new friends. The second book about Iggy, the little skunk that saved the forest. It's a smelly story, but it's a delightful little story.
Oh.
Bada boom. Anyhow, that book has the underlying thing would be standing up for causes that you believe in. The third book, Cosmo, has to do with friendship again, and the value of making friends. And the fourth book, The Sawhead Adventures, which consists of 9 short stories about this character, little Ralphie. I don't know where that name came from, but anyhow, there's within those stories, a couple of those stories have a lingering, I don't know, something about
Part of your life story?
maybe because and most of my stories have happy endings, so maybe that's another reason why I stick with children's stories, because you want a children's story for the most part, in my view, to be a happy outcome, something that.
Okay. So we're coming up on the break in just a moment. All those people help pay the bills for these shows. And we want to remind you that we're interviewing Ralph Wayne Freire and his work that he does, his artwork, his books. He's one of our new guests on the show, and we've got him in today as our first guest, watching our weekly radio show. So welcome to that. I've got a lot of questions I haven't asked yet because I've just published a book, so I have questions. And so I think we need to chit chat a little bit about that. And so I'll tell you what, guys, in the engineering booth, you want to swing into commercials? Okay. The boss said yes. So we're going to do some commercials. And when we're done, we'll be right back with Author's Edge.
Okay.
Okay. Are we asking questions about what inspired you and why would you want to be an author? Do we have that anywhere in the list of questions?
I don't know. Let's work it. I can work around that.
Become a radio show host.
We talked about my inspiration within the art.
Well, Dr. Stan Fox can help you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, oh my God, we got to answer that or the show doesn't work. No, I mean, we don't want to run out of content. And then I've got a question about competition in books.
Okay.
I want to answer about that. I got a lot of information on that. So I think we're headed in a good direction. Do you have enough questions to carry the next 25 minutes? Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to do something called freewheeling. And I got a lot of questions.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And but it's a good exercise.
Yeah.
I have a bunch, and then you can just expand on it if you want. One thing you could do in the questions, if you'd like, is you could tell about, your publishing company. One of the challenges that you have with new authors, what they face, that'll get them to know you better too. You want to say a few words about Author's Edge and how to get to Blue Rooster? You should plug that.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
looking for a new, informative health and lifestyle show, giving knowledge
Okay.
and inspiration.
Well, no, because I'm looking at the questions, see what I got. Robert also did a bunch of questions too, and, you have some questions in here that we can ask.
Yeah, and I got a ton of stuff because I've interviewed publishers. So I got a few things that I'll just place into everything.
Yeah.
And that'll be fine.
So what, Stan, you say you've got a book that you put together, you published?
My third one,
Okay. I think you mentioned that the last time we met.
yeah,
Yeah.
And you can see the guide you
Just
through
came off the
the
press.
uncharted waters of health and wellness, and to give you a voice.
Sully, marketing your business, being a success.
So be sure to tune in to Melissa on KWRH 92.9 FM every Thursday at 10 a.m.
And this is pretty hot off the press,
That's the sixth copy.
but okay, so it's
I give it to you, except these books are committed, but I'll just give them one to you next time with that.
yeah,
That's a lot of how to get your, I taught that in college.
okay.
That's a reference book. Big time reference book.
I would still like a pro and win. I would love that.
Publishing Concepts, LLC.com, or just Google Publishing
cool.
Concepts to get started today.
Okay, I'll get a copy for you.
You know,
Well, look at it a second, now you're okay.
if you, it's like, I think it's like anything, if you meet another writer that's published a book or something like that, you feel a camaraderie with them, you feel a connection, because they've gone through at least, not everything the same way, but most of the stuff the same way. you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Why am I writing this book? How am I gonna
Yeah.
publish it? You know?
Well, I'm using the network here to start promoting this book. Mike just played a new question on it, and it's gonna get to 45 million people. So, you're in the right space because she can use these shows. I'll give you the copies of the shows, tomorrow,
Okay.
and you can do what you want with the show.
Transcript,
The actual recording.
got about a minute.
How long we got for you?
About 1 minute.
Okay, let's get ready.
Okay.
Let me bring this back because I know how to do it. Is that okay?
Yes,
And you can, that way I can buy us some breathing space.
all right, but I've got some.
Good question too, yeah. It happens with, just happens that way.
Well, I expected, yeah.
Yeah, no, we're solid.
Yeah.
We're solid. Okay, I'm gonna bring the
About
show
30
back.
seconds out.
Okay,
And out.
okay, I'll show you how to bring this back, so you can, how to play with it.
Coming up here, everybody.
Just give me the cue, and we'll be ready.
Let's establish the
You're doing good. Sorry, I should have said something.
Give it a second to establish, then go ahead.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to the Arthur's Edge Show. Arthur's Edge Show is with Gail Freer and Bob Price. Their show airs on KXOK 102.9 FM and KWRH 92.9 FM on Mondays at 3 p.m. Pardon me, and nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network. That's 100 cities, and that airs. Any show you listen to today will be on the following Monday to Friday, 5 times. And they're at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Each week, their show will help authors create books that transform their lives and imaginations. I want to kind of let you know, audience, that if you're thinking about writing a book, we'll ask Gail again to give us her contact info. Today, of course, we're interviewing an author. But the way the show works is that through Radio Excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes connections and fosters creativity and imagination. They maintain a focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, writing solutions. They'll serve the listening public by providing outlets for their creative skills and energies and help them flourish in a competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, conversations with authors, like we're doing today, writer's notice, writing, publishing, marketing tidbits, additional resources available on www.authors-edge.com. All right, audience, let's take it back to Gail and Bob. You want to make a comment, Bob? Or
Hello?
that's his comment. That's it. That's it. That's your comment. That works for me if it works for everybody else. Yeah. So,
Oh,
you wanna,
okay.
what, would
Yeah,
you?
I've got a couple of things I want to ask.
All righty.
What challenges do you face when writing some of your children's books? What are some of the challenges you face?
Well, there's several, or many, I suppose. One of them is, as I develop the story, is deciding, making a decision ultimately as to what level of this would be most appropriate for them. You know, if it's going to be a primary grade book, or is it going to be a book more suitable for middle school students or junior high students? Or, you know, you have to make those decisions because when you go to authors fairs or go put your book on Amazon, as we've done with the first book of mine, you have to make decisions as to where it fits best.
All right.
So that's a decision you have to make, one of many. There's other decisions as to what size of book are you going to make? Is it going to be a 6x9 book? Is it going to be, things like that? You make decisions how I'm going to format it, how big the margins are going to be. Especially with children's books, I think you can be a bit more creative. If it's just a traditional book, you set your margins at a traditional thing and use a traditional font, and you just go after just the good information in there. If it's your children's book, one of the feelings I have is that you want to make it visually entertaining as well as have a good storyline.
Have you done school presentations?
Yes, I have. In and around Poplar Bluff, I've done, I think, about 4, maybe 5 presentations right now, and they usually consist of either myself or the teacher reading the book and interacting with the students around the topics within the book. I take my characters on the 3 books that do have characters with them, the sculptures that I've made, and the students always get to see the sculptures. It's just another visual kind of a treat for them, as opposed to the teacher just holding the book up with a picture in the book. They're able to kind of look at the characters that are in the book and actually touch them and ask questions about the characters, how I construct them or something like that. Yeah, school presentations are so rewarding. It's really fun. Yeah.
I mean, one of the challenges really for authors is marketing. I mean, and it really comes down to a question about they don't want to do the marketing because most of them aren't familiar enough with it. I mean, it's like something like what you just mentioned was that in Amazon there are several, you can get up to 10 categories that you can show,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of people, and I've had even publishers, don't really attack that quite properly. But what challenges do you face really with your marketing and or your books? Or has it been a challenge? Or
Oh yes. Getting back the original point that thing you're making around marketing, I think writers want to write as opposed to marketing their
Absolutely.
books. My strategy has been pretty simple at the beginning. Now it's starting and I'm relatively new at this. 2017 was the first time I moved into this writing and publishing thing. Uh, But the way I have marketed my books in the past, and will continue to do this, is to go to authors fairs, and sometimes you can find those at your local library. Sometimes I participated in an indie authors fair here in St. Louis. That was several years ago. It was very cold that day. I can't remember what day it was. But or you set up your table and go to county fairs or homecomings and things like that, wherever arts and crafts are being sold. That's a good. I've found that to be a good place to market my books. Of course, you don't sell a lot of them, but the next time I set up a book like last fall, when we at the Iron Horse Festival in Poplar Bluff, I think I sold about 20 books.
Mhm.
So you chip away at it, and But I think Amazon will open up, obviously, will open up a much larger audience. But in the past, I have gone to authors fairs and book signings and county fairs and things like that. That's where I've marketed. And of course, once you write a book, and if you have them yourself, you have them printed, you can give those away also as Christmas presents. So your family knows what's coming for Christmas.
Have you used the library there's directories for the libraries? And have you attacked that, or have you really experimented with that?
I'm not sure the directories, but
Well, they're like, there's library, let me think here, it's the journal.
Library
The
Journal.
library journal that really publishes all the books, and it's really where librarians use these directories to
Okay.
purchase the books.
no, I haven't. And actually, that's why this connection with and this interview is really important to me, in as much as I'm making a contact with a company that's going to assist me with my marketing, and that's the Blue Rooster publishing and marketing company. So I'm still rather a novice at all this, and I'm looking, of course, to expand that. I do have my, the library in Poplar Bluff has my one or two of my books, and whenever I do a school presentation, I always donate a book to their school, to the library there. Uh, so it's slowly trickling out, but I don't have a plan on how to attack that.
Do you have an interesting writing quirk?
Are you-
or a tick that you?
Are you implying that I have a tick? Have you been talking to my wife? What's going on here? I probably do.
But is there a quirk to your writing, or something that you really think is different?
Other than the outcomes are usually is positive, and some of the books I have, getting to the books, and like in Piper's Posse, in the back there's actually some worksheets in the back of the book as part of the book. There's two coloring sheets from the images, and then there's a little did you listen to the story thing. So they're kind of set. I guess that's from an educator, as I was an educator's slant on things. Use the book in the classroom to teach vocabulary or to teach content.
You illustrated a lot of your books.
Well, I illustrated them by taking photos of the sculptures that I had made that inspired the stories. That's how I've illustrated them. Although I've done a few variations on that, but the next book, Sprout, the Christmas tree, I can draw, but I can't draw well, and so I'm bringing in a competent person to do my illustrations for me in this next one here.
Why do children like your books?
Well, they seem to like it. I find I get good feedback when I do school presentations.
But why would they like it?
Oh, I think because it's usually may lead them down a path that they haven't. You want to kind of keep them interested. So I put up interesting situations where maybe they're unexpected, and then the outcome is always is positive. So.
I have a question.
Sure.
When you decide to write a book, and you were inspired to do that, did you want to make money at it, or did you just want to share knowledge? I mean, why were you, like, I just wrote a book, I want to make money at it, but also I want to help the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question really is, what do you see as the purpose of the book? And do you want to make money out of it? Which isn't unreasonable. Your wife is sitting right across from you. I think she's going to want to know the answer. I want to know the answer.
I know she wants new shoes and a trip to Europe, things of that nature. I'm sure of that.
All right.
Yes, you tie making money and getting your book out there. They come hand in hand. Because if you sell a lot of books, you're getting your book out there and you're getting your view of whatever you're trying to tell people
Right.
out there. And with that comes the money. If you're, so they kind of join together. And another reason why I guess I'm writing, you get to a certain age, and maybe some of us are at that age where you start thinking about your legacy that you might be leaving for maybe your grandchildren or for other, in my case, since I'm writing children's books, or for other children. And so, yeah, I'd like to make some money at it. And so far, I guess maybe I'm more than breaking even, which allows me to keep going. But you're always, I think everyone's always wanting to have the next bestseller. I'm sure, Dr. Stan, with your books you are, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, hey, listen, I like you a lot for saying that. Thank you so much. That was very cool. And my desire is, of course, we want to make sure that we help you with your book. If somebody wanted to buy your book today, they go, oh my gosh, I want to see this, or I want to buy his sculpture. Where do they go today?
well, if you don't live near Poplar Bluff, you would go to my website. And on the
Which is?
website, www.flyingfgallery, all lowercase.com. If you go there, you'll see my sculptures. They're not all on there, but most of them are on there. If you live near Poplar Bluff, I have my own gallery there, the Flying F Gallery, which is just north of Poplar Bluff, and that's a place you can actually physically interact or touch the pieces. So where are we at now?
Well, we are at, you're listening to The Author's Edge with Gael Freer and Bob Price, coming to you weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. on KWR 92.9 FM and KXOK 1029 FM AM, and Monday to Friday, 2 p.m., 7 p.m. nationwide on My Genre Radio Network. So that's where you are
Okay.
right now.
Well, getting back to the question, where else you can find my books would be there at the Margaret Harwell Art Museum in Poplar Bluff. And you would, other than that, contacting me through my website would be, or now with the one on Amazon, that would make it easy. You simply go into Piper's Posse, or the author's name, Ralph Wayne Freer, and you would find that book there. And within the next year, all of my books will be available on Amazon.
I have another question for
Mm-hmm.
you. When you begin writing a book, do you know the ending?
No, the endings many times will change. Like the story about Sprout, the last one I wrote, I started in the middle of, as it turned out, I started where I thought the story was going to start, but that became the middle of the story, and ended up backing up and giving more of a. So the stories, with my approach, it evolves. I mean, I'll have an idea, a concept that I start with, but then sometimes that concept does not. It may end up at the middle of the story or the end of the story, or enhanced. So it was.
Yeah.
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 But that's just how I roll.
So,
No. What is your process of, handling writing? What do you do? Do you
Okay.
do like some people do
An outline.
constantly writing? Some people do an outline before they start. But do you take an hour every day, 3 hours every day, and sit down and think about that?
You have a
What
planned
kind of,
schedule.
yeah, what is this?
You know,
Well-
Hemingway used to do it first thing in the morning.
Well, and also Hemingway said something to the effect: you find one true line and you work from there.
Right.
I'm not sure. The physical process is sometimes I will start writing things on a notepad, and then I end up going to my laptop more and more. I've used my laptop more and more on the last couple of stories, where I just started the beginning on my laptop. I'm a terrible, even though in the military, in the Army, way back in the day, I was a cryptographer, which means I sat in front of a teletype doing all sorts of stuff, encoding and decoding stuff. So at one time I could type pretty well, but anymore I do as my dad used to say, the biblical approach, seek and you shall find, with two fingers, click, 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 click. But anyhow, so I go from writing sometimes the ideas on a yellow notebook pad, and then move it into a computer. Yeah.
Artists. We're interviewing Robert Wayne Frier.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Ralph and I'm saying Robert, forgive me.
There's Robert. I'm Ralph.
Oh, yeah. I'm Robert.
Hi, I'm Ralph.
That's what got me. All right, so Ralph is a Missouri artist and author. He creates captivating works of art in a century-old farmhouse where he's converted into a studio. The Flying Up Gallery and Studio are located at East 740 Highway W, Poplar Bluff, Missouri. He's a sculptor, primarily working in wood. His eclectic artistic style is continually evolving. He focuses on the exploration of shapes, forms, and colors, as with most artists. Ralph is intense and about his art. His formal art training includes his life drawings with Malcolm Ross and portrait sculpture with Jane Doxey. Doxey, thank you. Both in Key West, Florida. I like it. I like the cheeseburger thing I got down there. Whatever that is. Yeah. Anyway, with Jimmy Buffett dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't live there anymore.
Yeah, I know. Okay, he's constantly exploring creative challenges. Most recently, the writing publisher of 4 children's books. Question: are you making any money at this? Are you just satisfying a desire at 79 going towards 80? Or are you making money, and do you want to make money at it?
Well, sure. I want to have the next children's bestseller. I want to have the next Dr. Seuss bestseller, or yeah. But I have made enough money to cover my expenses and to keep doing this without it coming out of my pocket. But
Well, that's good.
we'll see. We'll see as it goes. We're looking ahead to the future, and who knows? Maybe I will make a lot of money someday with this. But that wasn't the intent. Is not. My approach was more like an artist, I think, than a writer. Although writing is an art. I was used to creating a piece, putting it in a gallery, and setting a price on it and seeing what happens. And that's almost been my approach with my writing, is sort of writing the book, having it printed, and seeing where it goes. But now, to make money and to get the book out there more, you have to have a platform. And I think Amazon is probably the platform that's the easiest for an author, published person like myself to expand their horizons.
You know what, Ralph?
Yeah.
Coming on my genre radio network in front of 25 million people isn't going to hurt you.
Oh.
I mean, this station is 100 cities. Somebody will pony up and buy the book or
Well,
books.
that would be nice.
Yeah. So overnight you're going to go coast to
He
coast.
is gonna be an overnight sensation.
He seems
Oh,
like it.
wow.
He
Let's
seems
go with
like it,
that.
doesn't he?
Okay, Stan, please stop now. My wife will be buying shoes and tickets to go places. So
We
before
also,
the checks come in.
besides the Blue Rooster Company, we also have Net Marketing Dynamics with us, Bob Price, who also does marketing. So we kind of pull you into this a little bit.
Yeah. What does
You know,
that do?
what does
Let's
that
hear
do?
from you.
How do you do
Talking to
that?
the microphone, speak
How do you
clearly.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, it's a mystery to me. It's really, I think what it's all about is really making a plan, that you really sit down and examine who you're working with. So with Ralph, we would sit down and make a complete plan that really attacks Amazon, attacks different distributors, and ways and directories that really get your book out there.
Mhm.
So it's a multitude of different things, press releases, and
How effective is a newsletter?
the real key to the newsletters, and we just did one for one of our authors, and so the real key to the newsletter is building up your list. And
Your email list?
yes, the trick
Yeah.
is all in the list. And so, with the author that we started with, one of them was, it's about 150 people originally. And the real goal is to get this up to 1,000 or 2,000 people on that list, because if they're fans and they subscribe, then they're able to they want to hear what you're doing and see what you're doing. And so getting the newsletter is important.
And scrubbing the newsletter, keeping it updated.
Oh, that's important.
You got to scrub it or it's not going anywhere. I used to teach seminars at Webster University, and I'd bring the public. I'd always have 100 people in the room, and I'd always sell about 20 books. That wasn't why they were there, but it was part of why they were there. They wanted help. I was there to help. And I had one video. If you could, let's say you do your book and you go on YouTube and you talk about your book on YouTube. Mark, don't I understand that we can do YouTube from here? He's nodding yes. What a great guy. Okay, yeah, I mean, we can get it out there. So Mark's saying that this book could go out there, and you got a camera that's been on you the whole time. So they get to see what a decent looking guy you are, right? But no, I mean, I made a lot of hits by doing that. So I did the seminars for a entirely different reason.
All right, one last question.
Sure.
What advice, give me one piece of solid advice that you would give to an aspiring children's book writer?
And you can take your time on this one. We got a few minutes. Because I know he cuts off. He's trained him well. He's like, oh, I don't want me talking about.
Well, first and foremost, who am I to give advice to someone? I'm still rather new into this, but from my experience, I can give advice from my experience alone, and that would be to write your story, find a space to write, or quiet time. We all need a little quiet time, and start writing your story, however you want to do it. If you have a laptop or a computer, you do it that way. Otherwise, you write it on a napkin or whatever. But you have to start writing it down. Otherwise, with me, it comes in and then it goes out as far as my thoughts. And sometimes I'll think of a wonderful passage or a wonderful combination of words, and then if I don't write them down then, they're lost. So I would say you need to do it at that point in time. Yes.
Does it help
Be
you
spontaneous.
marry your publisher?
Well, it's worked out that well. It's worked out that way. Yes.
Okay.
Hey, I gotta tell you, I've been married 3 times. I can't get it right. So you got a keeper. You better hold on.
Well, I do have a keeper.
You do. I can tell you. I can tell.
Yeah.
Well, this is the inaugural show. How do you two feel about it today?
I think it went well.
Having fun.
We're having fun.
Having fun?
Well,
Yeah.
that was always been my philosophy. If I'm not having fun, I ain't doing it. And that's that.
Okay.
So-
Well, do you want to ramp up the show? I mean, want to thank the audience for being here and what's coming on next?
Absolutely. I want to thank everyone for showing up and talking and chatting and laughing. Our next show will be with Roseanne Standard. She's going to be telling us about her illustrations and her writing and all of that wonderful stuff. She's a great artist. As a matter of fact, she is the woman that is doing the illustrations for Ralph Wayne Freer's latest book, which is Sprout. So we're going to talk to her and see how it goes.
So, audience, you've been listening to the Author's Ed Show that comes to you every week at 3 p.m. of what day? Fridays, right?
On Friday, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. nationwide on My Genre Radio
Yeah,
Network.
so you're out. We hope you'll come back and listen again. This was the inaugural show for 2023. A couple of days into that, and thank you, Robert, for having.
Ralph.
Thank you, Robert. Ralph.
That'll work.
I'm sorry, it's Freudian. I'll get over it. I have a brother named Robert. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for being on the air. All
Thank
right,
you,
audience,
Ralph.
stay tuned to our next show.